Welcome once again to the UC Berkeley Master of Nutritional Sciences and Dietetics first open house of this admission season and our virtual open house. This will be recorded and posted on our homepage as well. So my name is Mikkel McCoyne, and I am the program director. I have with me here today Mary Lesser, who is our capstone coordinator, and Alicia Henson, who is our program coordinator and our education specialist. So the three of us are going to go through our slides, give you lots of information about our program, and hopefully answer any questions that you might have about our program and the application process. So this is an hour-and-a-half session. I hope our slides go less than an hour, and then we'll have lots of time for questions and answers. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So the agenda is to start off by just talking about our program, give you an overview of what we're trying to do here at Berkeley, and review our curriculum and what students do while they're in the program. Then Mary Lesser is going to join us and talk about our summer research capstone experience. And then Alicia Henson will be joining us to talk about the culture here in our program, what it feels like to be a student, the enrichment and the ways that our students collaborate and work with the faculty and just really the culture of our program and campus as well. And then I'll pop back on and talk about the fees of the program, living in the Bay Area, and financing your education, and also review admissions and the application, and then open it up to questions and answers. So we have a lot of things we want to cover here in this time together. So I always like to start with our mission because it frames what we're trying to do in this program. So our mission is to prepare graduates to be confident, registered dietitian nutritionists, healthcare professionals who are prepared for practice and have a personal commitment to a high standard of professional behavior. So we're trying to really teach the skills to become a registered dietitian, but we're also teaching the professional behaviors and attitudes of registered dietitians. So we want our graduates to value being a dietitian, know what it means to practice as a registered dietitian healthcare professional, and what their facilities expect of them when they hold this title. It's an important credential. It is a healthcare professional and you are caring for patients. So we need to take this seriously. And here at Berkeley, we do take it seriously. We spend a lot of time on knowledge and skill development, but also on this professional side and these professional standards. So we want our graduates to achieve the knowledge and skills, as I mentioned, to actively contribute to our field. So we want students that really, and graduates who really want to participate, engage, and lead our profession. We want our graduates to practice, obviously, as a registered dietitian, engage in research in whatever capacity that might mean for them, whether as a researcher or just in their facilities, always thinking about collecting data and improving their practice. We want our graduates to be leaders in the field. There's lots of leadership opportunities in our profession to advance our profession and what we do. Given dietetics touches so many areas of practice, there's a lot of opportunities for leadership. And we want our graduates to engage in policy because policy really does impact our practice and access to food and nutrition services. We want our graduates to be dedicated and inquisitive professionals, so really dedicated to this career path and to always be thinking about why and how can I be better. So that is the inquisitive part. So that's a lot. Those are like two mission statements, but they're also important. All of those words in there, it is packed. And this is really what we believe. We go back to the mission statement often and think about, are we doing this? How can we further support these areas for our students so they can actually practice in this way when they graduate? And so, yeah, I just like to kind of start with that and moving on. The goals are not listed here, but if you do want to see our goals, you are welcome to email me and I can send those off, and they're also on our webpage. So some highlights, and we'll go into each of these in more depth, but this slide shows a few highlights of our program. So we are what's known as a future education model program. That term is being phased out, but it's definitely still being used, and so you might see that. It's being phased out, and what is being replaced is the term graduate program. So we are just a graduate program in nutrition and dietetics. So we are an Ascend accredited graduate program. And what this means is that we integrate both the coursework and the internship hours into one cohesive program at that graduate level. So in this program, you'll get all of the requirements that you need to become a registered dietitian. So you will have, the accredited coursework, the accredited internship hours, and the required master's degree, and you'll be eligible for the RD exam. So that's what's on this next point here is that we are a professional graduate program. So the University of California, Berkeley classifies our degree as a professional graduate program. We are training you for a profession, a very specific profession, that of the registered dietitian. And upon graduation, you're eligible for the RD exam, and you'll earn the degree designation of MNSD, so a Master of Nutritional Sciences and Dietetics. So once you pass that exam, you'll hold the credentials MNSD RDN. That's a lot of letters, but that is what you earn if you pass that RD exam, which you will. Our graduates are passing that RD exam. And so once you do that, you'll have all of those letters behind your name. Our program is definitely general enough for all interests. We cover, all the practice areas of dietetics, and students do come in with a variety of interests, such as sports and eating disorders or counseling or community nutrition, but we definitely have a focus on research and clinical dietetics. So our research focus is primarily because we are at a research institute. UC Berkeley is known for cutting edge research. We want our students to engage in what Berkeley has to offer, which really is that research. Our Senate faculty do, amazing work in our building, and we want our students to engage with that if they can. So that's one reason we focus on research, really, so you can, learn everything you can from Berkeley. Also, training students at the graduate level, that involves research. So we really want to honor that graduate degree and make sure that our students have an appreciation for research and engage in research. And then clinical dietetics is our other focus. The largest employer of dietitians is hospitals. And so we really want you to be prepared to become employed. That's one of our goals. We want our students to become employed. And so having that clinical background is important for employment and just, making sure that you have those foundational skills. We also believe that is the foundation of our practice as registered dietitians. We are healthcare providers. Registered dietitians are healthcare providers. So you have to have that clinical background, to really feel that, right? If that's the area of practice that you're going to engage in. We spend most of our time in the area of clinical dietetics in terms of our supervised practice. And it really is a great launching place for sports nutrition, for outpatient counseling, and other practice areas. So, we want our students to really have that strong understanding of clinical dietetics, and so that is our focus. Another program highlight is that we identify all of the preceptors for our students. So we've, work with the community in a lot of different ways, and we have a lot of preceptors that support us. In fact, we just did our accreditation review, and the review team was surprised at how many preceptors were participating in our review. And that's because we find all of our preceptors for our students. We want to make sure that, there are rotations available for our students and the training opportunities are available for our students. So where other programs you might have to find your own preceptors, we actually find all of those preceptors for you, and they're all local as well. So our program is 21 months. It's straight 4 semesters in one summer. So fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. We have you in and complete the program within 21 months. We have lots of opportunities for additional learning and enrichment, and Alicia will be talking about that. And then another highlight is we are in the beautiful San Francisco Bay Area. Can't ignore that. On those sunny, beautiful days, you get to see the Bay Bridge and all that the Bay Area has to offer. It is, a diverse urban area and a wonderful place to learn. I guess I could talk about the photos just a little bit. We have a brand new teaching kitchen. So this top picture is a picture of our teaching kitchen. So that has just been wonderful to be in that space to both take classes, and also we teach undergrads and community members in that space. This next photo is one of our students presenting her capstone research. And then this bottom photo is a field trip. Okay, so one second here. Okay. I will get to the questions at the end. So if you do put a question in the chat, just know that I will look at that at the end of the presentation. So I want to spend a little bit of time going through our curriculum and our courses. So we do, lecture. These are methods of teaching. We obviously, have some lecture in our program. That's the foundation of our learning, although we do expect our students to come in prepared, ready to go, ready to apply that knowledge. But we, review that with lectures. But every class basically has a lab or a discussion with it where we have application, discussion, speakers, and projects. So we're not just passively learning this information and, testing for it on an exam. Really, a lot of our assessment is done through projects and through case studies and discussions. So this is more of that graduate level learning where we are expecting you to synthesize and process the content and apply the material rather than just memorizing and regurgitating that information. Our courses are broken up into different series. So our first series is a clinical series. We start that series with a metabolism course. So everybody that enters our program will take a metabolism course on campus. All of our graduate students in our program take this metabolism class. We do have other graduate students in metabolic biology and endocrinology. That same semester, students are taking the beginning of their medical nutrition therapy. We call this course the Nutrition Care Process, but it is a Medical Nutrition Therapy 1 course. The next semester, students continue to build on that in a Medical Nutrition Therapy 2 course. Students also take a course called Metabolic Basis of Human Health and Disease. And in that course, we're learning about the cellular changes that occur during disease progression and understanding how diet can influence that. We continue to build on our clinical knowledge over the summer with summer clinical review sessions and a worksheet and case studies that we have students complete. And then this series ends with our clinical rotations, both in the inpatient and outpatient environment. We also have a research series that Dr. Lester will talk about when she joins us, but it starts off with a research methods class where we learn everything from bench research to bedside research, all different research techniques. This is supported by that same course I mentioned, the Metabolic Basis of Human Health and Disease, learning about the different research methods that are used to understand disease processes. Then we have our summer capstone research project. And then supporting that is the fact that we have weekly seminars from experts around the country, really, that come to the department to talk about research and cutting edge metabolic health topics. We have a food systems series, and that series starts with a class titled Foods. And that class, we talk about just food science, we talk about cultural foods, and we talk about medical nutrition therapy food. It's in our kitchen, it includes lecture and lab, and it's a wonderful, fun class. Then we have a food service management course where students learn how to really run a food service operation, everything from purchasing and receiving food to designing menus, to food safety, and looking at quality assurance of food service facilities, and all the way, to human resources and the budget and all sorts of things that go into running a food service operation. And then this series ends with a food service management rotation, which is a 7-week rotation. We then have a community and education series, which starts with a community nutrition course. We then have a counseling course, and then rotations in both a community-based program and an outpatient counseling experience as well. And then our last series is our professional seminar series. We have weekly enrichments that Alicia will talk about, where we bring in speakers to talk about professional practice topics, but we also do this in this class. We talk about our business and professions code. We talk about the code of ethics, our standards of practice. We talk about advocating for pay, getting jobs, building out your resume. And then we also talk a lot about the RD exam, and we allot time in this course for you to begin to study for the RD exam and to prepare for the RD exam. We have taken the stance that we cut out the time and give you the time to do it, but it really is on you to cement it into your brain. And so, we provide guidance for you and resources, but the students need time to process it with their own thinking and their own, thought processes. So moving on with the curriculum, that was an overview of our courses and some of the rotations, and this slide primarily focuses on the rotations. So rotations means supervised practice. So those required hours to become a registered dietitian. We have 1,100 hours that are required. We schedule about 1,200 hours, and we expect students to go for their entire scheduled hours, but sometimes things happen, like people might get sick or a preceptor needs a day off. And so if the hours start to fall, that's okay, because we require 1,100 hours. So our rotations start actually right away in year one, but most of the rotations are in year two. So we have 16 weeks of inpatient clinical training. So again, this is our longest rotation. That is, 4 months, and some facilities even require longer than that to really build your entry-level skills. So our goal is to have you practice as an entry-level dietitian by the time you graduate. And many of the facilities in the Bay Area have very complex patients, and it requires even sometimes a little bit longer than 16 weeks to get there, but at least a full 16 weeks to be able to practice at that entry level that we're looking for. We have 5 weeks of an outpatient clinical experience, which is still clinical. It's just counseling in that ambulatory outpatient setting. We have 5 to 6 weeks in a community-based program like Head Start or WIC or other public health department programs. We have 3 weeks on campus providing nutrition back to our campus members, back to our undergraduates, teaching classes, doing some drop-in counseling with them. And then that also extends into community members as well. And then we have a 7-week management rotation. That is a food service management rotation that is primarily in a hospital, but some individuals or students will have that rotation in a school or even on campus in our Cal dining operation. I've gone over the rotations. I also want to tell you a little bit about what that means when you're in those rotations. So students train 4 to 5 days per week while in those rotations. So it is full time, and you are expected to train the hours of your preceptor, and every preceptor has different hours. So there is not a lot of predictability. You will likely know kind of the week before what your preceptor's hours are, but they could run from very early in the morning in food service management, sometimes, 6 in the morning, to, it could run later in the afternoon, not the same person, but they could go to 5 or 6 p.m. So some of our students in their clinical training are there till 5 or 5:30, 6. So you just need to know that your hours are definitely going to be variable, and whatever your preceptor does is what we expect our students to do. Sometimes preceptors work on weekends, and so our students will train on weekends. Sometimes preceptors work on holidays, and so our students will train on holidays. So we just go with the flow, keeping in mind it is a short-term experience. We are here to learn, and we are here to take in everything that we can while we're in these facilities. Weekends and holidays run very differently at facilities than Monday through Friday. So it's actually a great learning opportunity. And I will say this doesn't happen too often, but certainly, it does happen. So Monday is a class day. So primarily our students are on site 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday. However, when class is over, some students do go to their facilities on Mondays. So again, there's complexity in our patients. There are a lot of skills to learn, and we need the time to build those skills. So we need our students to be available to go into those supervised practice sites to build those skills if needed. So again, if we're having class, Monday is a class day, but once class is over, sometimes students go into those supervised practice sites. Supervised practice means you're training under a dietitian, you're performing the work of a dietitian. So it is not passive. It is not a shadowing opportunity. It's not a time to go in and be like, wow, this is really interesting. Okay. It's a time to observe it, practice it, and then do it. We want you to be entry level and independent at the end, entry level. So that really means from the beginning, you got to jump in, focus, watch, learn, and do. And that's going to get you to entry level. And of course, you're ready to do that by the time you start. You've had all of our courses. Our students are ready when they go into those supervised practice facilities, but that learning just continues, and it's really an opportunity to demonstrate your learning and your knowledge. All of our sites are within 40 to 50 miles of campus. Most of them are within 40 miles. There's only a couple that are within 50 miles. And those ones that are a little further, we ask if students want to go there. So we really try to stay within this 40-mile radius, and I have a map and I'll show you that later. Students train at 2 to 3 different sites. So you're not just at one facility for the entire time, nor are you at 10 different facilities, having that exposure. And okay, so the ones that are 50 miles further, 50 miles or further in Sacramento, Santa Clara County, and Santa Rosa. So those would be optional if students were really interested in those sites. This slide lists some of our collaborating facilities. So this is not comprehensive, but just as some examples of the hospitals our students go into, some of our, food service and public health programs, are listed on here. And I'm going to just move on. This slide shows our plan over the 21 months. So I've already gone over it a little bit, but I'll point out a few things on here. So it goes fall, spring, summer, and then fall and spring. So in fall, we have this metabolism, nutrition care process, research methods, and our food systems management course. If you have not taken a nutrient metabolism class prior to starting at Berkeley, you would be taking our nutrient function and metabolism class for 4 units. So you would be taking a total of 16 units. But if you have taken an advanced nutrient metabolism course, students take this for 2 units, so they'd be taking 14 units. Everybody takes this course in some capacity, whether it's 2 units or 4 units. In spring semester, we have our community nutrition class, foods, medical nutrition therapy. These are all accelerated over 10 weeks. And so we get these done before spring break, because come spring break, you enter your food service management rotation. And so after spring break, these classes might meet on a Monday. So you're meeting 0 to 1 time. Some of them meet on a Monday, some of them don't meet anymore. But everybody knows that you're headed into supervised practice, and that we lighten the load of these courses. They should pretty much be done, and your focus needs to be on food service management. So this is a full semester, and you are done by the middle of May at the end of the semester. So this semester is 11 to 13 units before spring break, and then after spring break, you pick up another 4 units. And so before it feels like 11 to 13 minutes, or 11 to 13 units, and then after spring break, it is a full supervised practice experience. In summer, you go into your capstone project in nutritional sciences, and that is 11 units. That is a full-time research experience. Expect to engage in that full-time. In fall of the next year, we have a 2-unit class on Mondays. It's accelerated over 7 weeks because the other 4 days a week, it's only on Mondays, the other 4 days a week, you're in your supervised practice rotations. But after that counseling class, after those first 7 weeks, you might be going into these supervised practice rotations 5 days a week. And this is very similar for spring semester. We have a 2-unit course that meets on Mondays, except this one meets every Monday. So you would likely not be going into your supervised practice sites on Mondays. You would be on campus on Mondays and then at your sites Tuesday through Friday. And again, so most of your time the second year is in these supervised practice sites, Tuesday through Friday, with the 2-unit class as well, taking anywhere from 12 to 14 units. So this is a lot of classes. All of the classes have discussion and labs and projects and whatnot. So you should expect to be involved with your studies and training for about 40 to 50 hours per week. So graduate school at the full-time level is full-time, which feels different than undergrad full-time, where perhaps you didn't have to spend as many hours, or maybe you did, but it's very common at the graduate level to spend this number of hours on your studies. And given we're trying to do the coursework and supervised practice and research in 21 months, it really does take full-time commitment to your studies. We've surveyed our students and they've said they spend about a little over 40 hours per week on their studies. Because even in supervised practice, after you're there all day training, the expectation is you go home, you read your notes, you reflect on what you learned, and you prepare for the next day. So we really want to go into our sites having thought about all of our learning and are ready to implement, what we learned the day before. Okay, is Mary on yet? I don't think she is. We're going to skip ahead, Alicia, to you, and then we're going to skip back to Mary. So I'm going to move on and tell us a little bit about the culture.
Okay, thank you so much, Michael. And hi, everyone. It's so nice to see your, those faces that are here. And I'm, just super excited to talk about our culture and our program. As Michael mentioned, my name is Alicia. I'm the program coordinator and education specialist. I work very closely with our students in many capacities. With our incoming students, I hold like nutrition care workshops, and then I do clinical review sessions with them. So I do work closely with everyone, and I am a dietitian. So that definitely, my goal is to help support our students for sure. But going into our culture, so this picture here that you see, this was actually our annual, what we call our MNSD hike and picnic. And it's so much fun. And as you can see, we're a fun group. This picture actually shows a mix of 3 different cohorts. So our first cohort that graduated, our alumni in our first and second years. So we do this every year. It's in June and it's at Tilden Park here in Berkeley. It's a really fun time and it's just such a great way for us all to connect. And I think that just generally speaking, we're all pretty close around here. It's a very supportive environment, but it's also fun. So I think that, it is, there's a lot of academic rigor. We're all working hard, but we also like to, have some fun at the same time. Okay, so expanding more on our culture. So supportive and developing lifelong learners. So I will say that I think that generally speaking, again, there is this eagerness of learning across the board. Everyone that comes here is excited about dietetics. Everyone is excited about excelling in their craft here. And it's great. You can feel that, across the board, whether it's the faculty, the staff, and the students. Our cohorts are small, which allow us to be close. So we admit about 20 to 22 students each academic year, keeping our classes small. We provide mentoring with a ratio of like 4 to 1, so student to faculty mentor ratio. So we meet, every semester with our students, and more often, if necessary, we all have office hours. So we're always, try to be available to our students in any capacity that they need us. We have enrichment, which we have in another slide, so I'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's also just another way of us to develop, this culture of lifelong learning. We have these field trips. We've gone to what's called SHO, like TCHO, which is like a chocolate, almost like a chocolate factory, or this business here in Berkeley, which is amazing. I know our students have gone to like Cal Dining, Del Monte, UCSF Food Services. These field trips are so much fun. As I mentioned, we have these socials. Earlier today, I was downstairs with some of our staff and they were planning out our Halloween social, and it sounds super exciting. The labs, including MNSD, we're all going to be doing pumpkin carving, so that's really fun. And then, of course, there's opportunities for leadership. We have MNSD reps, and then we also have a local affiliate here called BETA, Bay Area Dietetics District Association. And so we also have this opportunity for students to represent our program there too. So a lot of great ways to engage and learn and, all in the spirit of supporting each other and growing. So here's our enrichment agenda for this fall. So we recently heard from Deanna Wolf, who is a private practice dietitian and has a really strong presence on social media. So it was really great to hear from her, especially our students who are really interested in private practice. They really said great things about her enrichment. This Monday, we heard from Nina Lau, who's an occupational therapist, and she was teaching us about feeding and swallowing and being able to identify what aspiration looks like and in the context of, the dietitian's lens. Next Monday, we're going to hear from Dr. Michelle Cardell, who is the Chief Nutrition Officer for Weight Watchers, and she'll be talking about GLP-1s and just kind of like her role and her career in terms of going into research. We'll also hear from Christopher Gardner, who's a nutrition researcher at Stanford, and he'll be talking on nutrition scientific advisories at the time when science is under attack. That's a really exciting enrichment that we're going to have. In fact, it's actually a department seminar, and we'll also have a reception afterwards. We'll also hear from Diana Major, who is a clinical researcher in Canada, and her research is specifically in celiac disease. And then we'll also hear from a UCSF dietitian, Sarah Maria Mencia, who specializes in maternal health. So, we'll hear from more in the spring, but we do take into consideration our student interests. So we have a form for our students to fill out. So if they do have any interests that you want to express, we do take that into consideration. And we're always looking for speakers, expert speakers, in our country, outside the country. And yeah, we've had some incredible people come through UC Berkeley, and we feel very fortunate that we get to learn from them. So expanding a little bit more about the culture. So not just within MNSD, but outside, MNSD here on campus, there's a lot going on. UC Berkeley really is known for its innovation and its research and its public service as well. So there's opportunities for you all to get to learn more about what's going on. And we have what's called the Berkeley Food Institute. We work with them in our Cal Campus community rotation, but there's other opportunities to engage with them as well. Our department as well holds a weekly seminar series where we also hear from additional experts in metabolic biology. And that's always really fun. That's usually on Wednesdays at 4 o'clock. We also have sustainability, which we've also partnered with in terms of the MNSD program. We had this really successful nutrition workshop with them a few weeks ago. That was really great. We also collaborate with the Basic Needs Center. We have the AltMe Lab on campus as well. We also have the Nutrition Policy Institute. And then, of course, we have Cal Athletics. So a lot of great ways to engage with the campus. And we do encourage students to take advantage of these opportunities early on. So ideally, like within your first semester when you're here full-time on campus, because eventually, as Mikkel mentioned, you guys go out into your supervised practice rotations. And so it's a little bit trickier, not necessarily not feasible, but it's just a little bit more difficult to, utilize these opportunities when you're not on campus. So something to think about, when you are here in your first semester. So Berkeley is very well known for its commitment to excellence, and I'm excited to share that UC Berkeley was ranked as the nation's top public university by US News in 2026 US News ranking. This is super exciting. And so, expanding on this a little bit, so UC Berkeley has had more than 60 Nobel Prize winners between faculty and alumni. We have a little over 33,000 undergraduate students. We have 12,812 graduate students, And UC Berkeley offers 350-degree programs and 120 graduate programs. Now, something that I'm also really excited to share is that our own department has a rich history in nutrition and has been training nutrition professionals since 1916. So there's a lot of great history here. So there's a lot to do on campus. Campus in itself is absolutely gorgeous. Here in the Bay Area, we're really lucky that we have great weather. And so I find that every time that I'm walking across campus, it's not unusual to see students laying on the grass, soaking up the sun. I've also seen some students on hammocks. And so I think that campus is just such a beautiful place. And it's, we definitely see the students enjoy the campus in itself. We have Sproul Plaza, which is really the heart of the campus. And so if you go to Sproul Plaza, you'll see a lot of organizations and booths and just different ways to connect with the community there. We have a ton of different campus clubs and organizations also that really allow you to find your community if you have any special interests. I know I've also seen students join dance clubs and all types of different, unique clubs that you might be interested in if that's something that you want to pursue. And then also something that I'm really excited to share is that I believe it's not quite in place yet, but students will have free, is it free public transportation across the Bay Area? So that includes AC Transit, which is UC Berkeley, Berkeley's bus service, and then also BART, and then the ferry service. So this is pretty exciting for you guys, and it just really helps in exploring the Bay Area more, which is great. I mean, there's just so much to do here. Okay, so something that is really important to talk about is that the Bay Area is urban. So what does that mean? So it is densely populated here. And so there's not a lot of space. However, there is really great public transportation. I mentioned BART. BART is a really great method to getting around the Bay Area. However, we do encourage you to have cars because there is a really good chance that you'll have to commute to your rotation site. So just something to keep in mind. We have a lot of great food here. I live in Oakland, and Oakland is just there's just anything that you can think of in terms of any cultural food you can find there. Berkeley also, downtown Berkeley, just walking distance from our campus. We have a ton of great food here. There's a lot of great parks and rec here. We have Tilden Park, which is walking distance, a lot of great hiking here. There's a lot of free festivals and events here as well. There's a lot of great diversity in culture, ethnicity. There's just a lot of any background. It's beautiful, right? You walk down the street, you hear different languages. I love it. And it's just, again, such a beautiful place to be. There is a lot of noise though, right? So because it is densely populated and there's a lot of congestion, there is a lot of noise. It's not unusual to hear, sirens and alarms and whatnot. And we do tend to have a higher crime rate than most suburban areas, and it is expensive here. But there's a lot of, great things that we do have here, right? And so, like I mentioned, the great weather, there's always something to do here. We're so close to the city. It's quite literally across the bridge. You can see it from campus. On a good day, you can see not only the Bay Bridge, but also the Golden Gate Bridge. And it's just gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. And again, I really just want to highlight that there really is this eagerness of to learn here. And it's contagious, quite frankly. You walk around campus and everyone's just just has this this energy of wanting to be the best at what they're doing. And it's just incredible.
All right, thank you, Alicia. I'm going to go back in our slides because Dr. Mary Lesser has joined us, and I'm going to allow her to talk about the summer capstone research experience.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Sorry for being a few minutes late, a little bit of traffic when trying to pick up my children. Real quick, Mikkel, I thought my first slide was actually text. There it is. Awesome. Thank you.
This is the picture. I thought you might want to tell them about this beautiful picture.
Okay, I can. Yes, well, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Mary Lesser. I have been a faculty as part of this program since we started, and I am your research go-to for our program and lead all the research efforts. So yes, so this picture specifically is from this last summer's capstone research symposium, which is kind of the culmination of your research experience in this program. And so if you don't mind going back one slide, I can take you all through kind of big picture, how we get to that end picture where everybody is smiling and excited and are feeling very accomplished because they have just taken on and have accomplished something pretty huge. So as I mentioned, I'm the one who leads the research experience for this program and making sure that you meet your research competencies for a graduate level program. And so what does that actually look like? So although the summer research experience is kind of the big focus and one of the unique aspects of our program in particular, it's actually a whole year process of moving, getting to that end product. And it starts in your first year. So I get to see a lot of you all your first year. It starts out in the fall, and during your fall semester, your very first semester, you will take the research methods and analysis course that I teach in the fall. And so really it is a kind of a how do you do research with the the lens of food and nutrition, and it's really a bench to bedside. And so I am taking you through not only the kind of basics of how do you propose a research question and actually write it? How do you navigate, scientific literature? What tools do we have to help actually like dive in and critically evaluate that literature? How do you propose a study? And how do you collect data, methodologies for data collection? How do we organize it, analyze it, and then communicate those findings? And in the fall, we focus on doing that in kind of two different settings. We use a clinical nutrition or clinical methodologies as kind of the first part, and then of the semester. And then the second part is much more molecular. We are in the teaching lab, and we are using animal tissues that have undergone the animals themselves underwent a diet study. So learning kind of more some of those more classic bench science techniques you may have heard of before, like Western blot, qPCR. We do some imaging, doing some histology. So lots of different things so that when you finish up my course, you've had a good breadth of exposure and have, at least a better understanding of how to conduct research in different settings. Also during that semester, we start talking about the summer research experience. Actually, during that time, I'm starting to get a feel for what everybody is interested in, what maybe their skill sets are, and I'm starting to kind of put together some placements for that next summer. And those can run the gamut. And so I'll talk a little bit more about what those might look like here when we jump down into the spring and summer. So we wrap up fall with our NST 210, our research methods course. And then going into the spring, you actually do not have a formal research course, but I will be, still in touch with you all as I am working on finalizing those placements. We do have a couple of presentations that are dropped into the enrichment cohort meetings. We are learning about some of those opportunities, particularly in the metabolic biology labs within the department, as well as some other possible opportunities. And so during spring semester is when I am tightening up everything, and actually usually by March-ish of the spring semester, you will be officially placed in where your capstone placement will be. And what some of those settings might look like is that it can be anywhere from a much more molecular, you're working in like more in vitro studies, cell cultures, or it could be working with animals. It could be working on the clinical nutrition side, doing clinical research. We've had opportunities with Nutrition Policy Institute, doing more of policy research. We work with Cal Athletics, nutrition education opportunities, public health opportunities. So the last couple of years, we've had also some more unique placements. We've had students that have gone down and worked in some of the Stanford labs. So people that are over at UCSF, both the Parnassus campus, as well as working at Children. So lots of different opportunities. So I always remind the students that there is not like one, even though we have a general path on how we get you to your capstone, everybody's experience is very different because each placement is going to be very different. So you get placed in the spring. We encourage and have everybody start working on doing a little bit more of their background reading so that when we come to the summer, you can jump right in. Also during the spring semester, we work on finalizing any IRB applications if we do have students that are participating in human subjects research so that there's no holdups when we get through to the summer. So we finish up spring semester, and all summer long, that summer that you spend with us is 100% research. No other classes, no other internships. You are conducting research. So you will officially start the Tuesday after Memorial Day, and you go through till about I think it's like whatever, July 30th, and you are 100% full time in your lab or project setting. And so you are completing certain assignments that are helping to demonstrate and meet your competencies. So moving beyond just the classroom, that you're showing me that you're meeting competencies, that you are being able to actually meet, exceed in the real world setting. You are also actually doing the project that you have been assigned to. So you are collecting data, analyzing it in the lab, participating in meetings or what have you. And throughout this time, it's a very quick 9 to 10 week experience. You're doing check-ins with me on a pretty weekly basis to make sure that everything is going to plan. But the whole focus and movement towards the end of the summer is with the projects you're working on, is that you will be communicating those findings in that research symposium. And you will be putting together a poster to have up, as well as giving the presentation orally as a podium presentation. It's a big deal. We invite all of your preceptors, or your capstone mentors. We invite faculty or what have you. It's live streamed so that people can join in, friends, family, what have you. And it is your opportunity to be able to share what you've been working on all summer. You can document it as that you've given a professional presentation on your CV. It is definitely a thing. Your preceptors or anybody who is attending can get continuing education units for it as well. So it's a great event. It is really a celebration of all of your accomplishments, because I know many of you have a little bit of research experience, and after this first year, you get a lot of research experience, no matter what setting you're in. So it is all those big smiles on the next page really do reflect all of the hard work and the celebratory feelings at the end, because I know it seems scary, and that's one of my goals in this program, is to break down that research is not as scary as it sounds, but that to show that you all can do it, no matter what, how much research background you have coming in here. We get you through, and you do a great job. So I think that is about it. Did I miss anything, McKellen, Alicia?
I think it sounds great. You very thorough. Thank you, Mary. And we will see if any questions come in towards the end. All right, so I am now going to talk about the cost of living, really, and fees and finances. But before I do that, here's a quote from one of our students, and she said, "The MNSD program has provided me with invaluable rotations and research opportunities that align with my career aspirations. MNSD faculty and administration have been instrumental in helping me build the connections and skills to become the dietitian I aspire to be. They consistently go above and beyond to assist me in my education and connect me with opportunities that will advance my career," which was wonderful at the time. She was an MNSD student when she wrote this, but she has now graduated and sent me an email recently saying something so similar, because she was actually able to present her capstone research experience at a conference in Paris, France, just last week. And now she also is moving and accepted a job that relates to her capstone research experience. So this quote was, premature in a way, but because she was still in the program, but as an alumni, she has said the exact same thing. So it's pretty amazing to see the opportunities really turn into opportunities for our graduates. Okay, so fees, our least favorite part to talk about. How much does it cost to join our program? So we do charge by the unit. What is shown here is for this academic year, the 25-26 academic year. Currently, the fee is $992 per unit, and we require 66 units. So when you do the math, that is $65,472 for the total program fees. Berkeley expects that the fee will go up about 3% every year. So starting next fall, the expected, it hasn't been finalized, but the expected fee would be $1,022 per unit, which would bring up the cost to about $67,000 for the total program fees. So that is just the program fee, but then there are other fees on campus that increase the total cost. So there's a campus fee, there's a student service fee, that will be starting. Students didn't have this in the past, but it will be starting in fall of 2026. It helps to cover a lot of services for students, including mental health and some of our assistance programs for students. What was started this fall is the class pass fee, which is $229. And this is what is now covering our public transportation for students. So although we say it's now free, it's really not free. We're paying for it. All the students are paying for it, but it is a mandatory fee per semester. There's also the health insurance fee, about $4,000 per year, but you can waive out of that if you can prove that you have major medical insurance, and many graduate students do because maybe they're on their parents' plans or for different reasons. So that is a cost-saving strategy if you don't pay for the health insurance fee on campus. There's an instructional resilience and enhancement fee. And so in all, based upon the units each semester, you're looking at about $14,000 to $17,000 without health insurance. So add a little bit more if you are going to have the health insurance. Also keep in mind that we do have some prerequisite courses that can be taken concurrently. So if you're in the program and you're going to take these prerequisite courses as part of our program, you are charged the $992 per unit. So this would be the metabolism course. If you're going to take it for 4 units, the 66 units is counts 2 units for metabolism. So if you haven't taken metabolism, that's an additional 2 units. And then we have another course called the Metabolic Basis of Human Health and Disease that we've mentioned a few times. That's a very unique course. So most students have not taken a similar course, and that is a 4-unit course. But we actually lowered that to 2 units because you are only doing the first 10 weeks because of that supervised practice. So that's 2 units, and that would be an additional fee as well. So there's other variable fees that you need to consider. So every facility that you do a rotation with will require some type of medical and criminal background check clearance. So multiple times throughout the program, you will be getting likely a background check, doing a TB test, and at least once you'll have to have a medical exam, a drug test, and show other immunization records. So those fees all depend on your insurance, but that's something to keep in mind. There's also a lab coat fee if, when you're going into your clinical facility, although a lot of facilities do provide that. There's a document management fee, and then added this year is the need for a computer. So it's very important that you have a computer or a portable device, would be ideal, because when you're in your facilities, it's often nice to have a portable device. And obviously in the classroom, a lot of students have that as well. There is a needs-based loan program that you can apply for a device to borrow one while you're in the program. But otherwise, we estimated about $3,000 for technology to be a student. And so these variable fees are about $3,500. And then cost of living in the Bay Area is shown below. These are all, by the way, fees estimated. Well, I guess these bottom fees are estimated from the Financial Aid Office, and they're published on the UC Berkeley Financial Aid webpage. So you can learn more by going there. But the Financial Aid Office has estimated that rent and utilities for 2 semesters would be almost $20,000. Food would be about $10,000. Personal expenses are about $3,000. So I think that's out having a social life, but I've added to this professional clothing. You do have to wear professional clothing when you go into your rotations. And so we've noticed some students have to buy, clothes to support those experiences. So I would say that falls into this personal category. Books and equipment. Really that second year, we don't have new books. They're the same books from the first year. So when you're in supervised practice, so that wouldn't be every year, but maybe just the first year. And then travel. So the estimated cost for travel is almost $4,000. This was, how they figure this out is they actually survey graduate students. So this was before this class pass transit was approved. So maybe that'll go down. But I do really want to highlight something Alicia said. We actually require access to a car, because although there is BART and there are buses. Not all of our sites are perfectly off those lines, and you need to get yourself there. So whatever way, I guess we don't have to require it, but you need to be able to get yourself to your supervised practice facilities. And we can't make accommodations based on people that have a car or don't have a car, because that would be inequitable across all students. So wherever your facility is, you do have to get yourself there. Other fees. So if you are, traveling across the bay in a car, so there is BART now to travel across the bay, but if you are driving a car, then there's bridge tolls, which should be considered as well, and parking tolls in San Francisco. So the Bay Area does have, expenses associated with travel, including paying for campus parking, even being on campus. You can park in the streets for free, but for a few hours. But if you're going to park on campus, that is a fee as well. And then there's other smaller fees related to being just in a professional training program with liability insurance and membership in our professional organization. So living expenses are about $37,000 per year. And so you need to consider that. And so let's look at that map a little bit of the BART and buses. So this is our 40-mile radius, more or less. And here is Berkeley. And so, and here's the BART over here on the side. And just looking at BART, Berkeley is shown up here. So Berkeley might get you to Richmond, but it's not going to get you up to Vallejo. It's not going, well, it might get you out to Concord and Martinez. So it'll take you to some of these areas, but once you get into those cities, you need to be able to, get yourself to your facility. Many hospitals have shuttles, but not all of them do. And so, again, just being able to get yourself to this radius, and you could be placed anywhere in this radius. So you need to be prepared to, accept rotations that are in San Francisco or all the way down in Fremont, out to Livermore, Concord, Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek, for sure. All of these areas are where we place our students. So you need to be prepared for that. Housing. So I shared the cost of housing, and, just to put it in perspective, that's kind of common across the UC campuses. So Berkeley is not necessarily more expensive. So I just circled a cost for a three-room unit with your own room, and this is Berkeley, would be about $1,100. But if you look at, Davis, it's about the same. Irvine's a little more. Los Angeles is a little more. San Diego, etc. So we're in line. Berkeley's in line with other UC campuses and what you would expect to pay. So, it's expensive, no doubt. California is very expensive. So please keep the cost of living into consideration, but also know that it's, on par with other areas, other UC campuses at least. Okay. So how do you finance your education? The program is eligible for loans, so federal and private loans. You do have to complete a FAFSA for federal loans to be considered for federal loans. Only U.S. citizens and permanent residents can apply for these federal loans that are administered from the Financial Aid and Scholarship office on campus. So international students would need to apply for private loans or get funding in other ways. And I am definitely not an expert in our financial aid system on campus, and I would never want to misspeak on any of it. So you should look at the financial aid webpage. There are lots of links on there that provide a lot of information about financial aid and loans. So please take a look there. We do have a few scholarships, so up to 3 $10,000 scholarships that are offered in year one for outstanding students whose experiences will contribute to the understanding of diversity at the University of California, Berkeley, and within the field. And we offer that with our admission, our offer of admission. So you would know about that before you accept your, offer of admission. We also have smaller department awards, $100 to $500 after you've been accepted. Every semester with supervised practice, we do give every student $500 to help cover some of these unexpected expenses, such as the TB test, criminal background check, maybe to help with some of the transportation or whatever it might be. We also give $100 to attend a conference. We give $500 if your poster, your capstone poster is accepted for a presentation at a conference. We will give you $500 to help you travel to present that to advance your work and your professional experience. We do have a few graduate student instructor appointments that are offered at the time of admission. We're planning for 2 positions this next year. We're in a time where federal funding and funding is, volatile and changing. And so these are our plans right now. And so what actually happens at time of admission and acceptance could be different. But right now we are planning for 2 appointments. So you would know about that at the time of accepting your appointment and your offer letter, your offer of admission. There may be other graduate student instructor or researcher appointments available, but we do have a lot of graduate students in our department, and so they're very competitive, and so there's no guarantee. You most definitely should not come into the program if you did not get one of these at admission and assume you're going to get a graduate student appointment or a graduate student researcher appointment, because they are not guaranteed, and again, they're very competitive. The nice thing about getting one of these appointments is there is a partial tuition reimbursement, about $11,000, plus you get a salary of about $15,000. So that can really help if you are able to obtain one of these appointments. So again, we do have some that are offered over the summer that seem to be less competitive, but over the summer there is not tuition reimbursement. There's just the salary piece. So it's a nice job, but it doesn't offer that salary component. And then if you do apply for the FAFSA and you're eligible for work study, there's a lot of work study appointments on campus. So that is nice. And we also have a lot of reader and tutor appointments in the department. And we do try to give these to our MNSD students. And it's just an hourly, rate, and it's about like 6 hours a week of work. So the salary is not going to be as high, but it is a little bit of income to help offset some of the cost of the program. And then another way the financial aid office talks about lowering the cost is having that health insurance waiver approval. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about admissions and the application, and so that you can be standing here as a graduate in our program. This was our inaugural cohort. They just graduated in May, and so we are now admitting, and I guess admissions are open for our 4th cohort, which is hard to believe because we just graduated this first cohort, and there they are. Okay, so we are really looking for students who align with our mission. I read our mission. Hopefully you felt the passion coming through that, and hopefully you align with that. So we really are looking for students that want to be registered dietitians, first and foremost. So do you know what it means to be a registered dietitian? We want to see that in your application, because the last thing we want is to admit somebody that really doesn't know what a registered dietitian does, and then they are like, wait, I don't want to do this. So we need to know that you want to be a registered dietitian, and we want students that want to actively contribute to our field. So get involved. So tell us in your personal statement where you see yourself, how you envision yourself being involved with the profession. We, really want active members in our graduate program. And so in your personal statement, we're looking for, students can really talk about their interest in practice or research, leadership, and whatnot. So we're looking for students that really will align with what we have to offer. So more specifically, we're looking for students that are seeking training or seek training in all areas of dietetics with a focus on clinical. So again, our focus really is clinical dietetics. We, would love to have students that are curious and have a genuine interest in learning and improving, and look at these opportunities where we're asking you to do a lot, right? Students feel like they're doing a lot, but that look at it as an opportunity to learn and grow, because that is why you're paying for this program, is to learn and grow and to, work at learning. And so we really want students that have that passion for learning and improving. We want students that take responsibility for their own learning. So if they don't understand things, they need to let us know. If they want to learn more about something, we can point them in the direction, and we expect them to go find it. So we expect students to, identify where things aren't clear, and really seek guidance in those areas. We are looking for students that are self-aware and open to self-reflection. So there is a lot of evaluation that happens in the program, both in the courses and in supervised practice, because again, we're training you to become an entry-level healthcare provider that understands and values our professional standards. And so to get you there, we need to conduct evaluations at midpoint, and even more often than that, midpoint meaning of every kind of experience that you have. And so being open to this, feedback, and being able to reflect on it, and like really looking at yourself and what you're doing, and how that is, being accepted in the, cohort or in the facility, and really just learning, from that. We're looking for students who are able to accept this regular constructive criticism, reflect and grow, so sort of the same thing, and then persevere. So, it's hard. It's hard to get this feedback, but we need to keep moving forward, learn from it, reflect, and keep, pushing forward, reminding ourselves why we do it is because we're learning, we're growing, we're becoming entry-level registered dietitians. Looking for students that have strong interpersonal skills. There's a lot of collaboration that happens in this program. In fact, from day one, every single class has projects, the research experience, the supervised practice. You will be meeting lots of people, and we need to be able to, communicate and understand one another and respect diverse points of view, and reflect on ourselves as well. And so these interpersonal skills are incredibly important in dietetics also. We are a profession that works with people, and so being able to work with diverse groups and different people, and all people, is really important. We are looking for students that are organized in their thoughts and their processes, and they have good time management skills. We're asking you to do a lot. You need to stay organized. The supervised practice, these, you're training again to be entry-level practitioner, and they expect you to get up to that entry level by the end. So that takes organization and time management, and really prioritizing your studies and what needs to happen to get you to that place. And then of course, also flexibility. So things change. Rotations might be canceled. You might not get the exact capstone project you want. You might not be placed in a facility that you were really hoping for, and just know that, we're all doing the best we can, and it's going to be wonderful no matter what. And you're going to learn and get to your end goal, and just kind of being flexible with whatever comes your way, I think, is a key to success in any supervised practice program. And with all these things I said, this is any supervised practice program. It is challenging for students to go into a work site and train. And so, these are the characteristics that really help students succeed in those types of environments. So for admissions, we do accept students with any bachelor's degree. You do not have to have an undergrad in dietetics, also called a DPD. About 50% of our students happen to have an undergrad in dietetics. This is not by design, but it just turns out every year so far, we've had 3 cohorts, and it's worked out to be just about that, which has been very interesting. All students perform very well. They all go into their supervised practice and are ready to start implementing the skills that they've learned. So I don't feel like there is an advantage or disadvantage to having, that background, because you all have taken these strong prerequisite courses. So lots of prerequisites with our chemistry, a class in general chemistry, organic chemistry, and biochemistry, a physiology class, a microbiology class, 2 additional science courses in the biology or chemistry domains. So a lot of students take organic 1 and 2 or Gen Chem 1 and 2 or a molecular biology course, molecular and cellular biology course, or they take anatomy. But we, pride ourselves in being a strong science program. We have this research experience, and we want you to be prepared for that. And we want you, again, to be confident healthcare providers and tackling these, hard science classes in your prerequisites really can build that confidence. And so that is, why we have these additional science courses. 5 science labs in whatever combination you may have. Many of these come with labs, an intro to nutrition class, statistics, psychology, advanced metabolism. So, coming in with that, you would then take our metabolism for 2 units. If you don't come in with that, you will take our metabolism for 4 units. And the metabolic basis of human health and disease is also taken concurrently. We're looking for students that have volunteer, research, or work experience. We prefer that you have nutrition-related experience. There's, no minimum time, but obviously the longer you've been in these, experiences, you're going to have a better understanding of the working environment. And so really this is just giving you exposure to that working environment so that you will succeed in your supervised practice rotations. Letters of recommendation, a preference for 2 from professional professors, 2 personal statements, your resume, optional writing sample, and you have to complete the entire application. We need all of your transcripts from all of your schools that you've attended. And you have to, interview with the program as well. So new this year, we are using DICAS for the first time. All supervised practice programs are supposed to be using DICAS this year. So the link for DICAS is right here. And so just to go through that a little bit, when you go into DICAS, there's 3 sections that are standardized across all programs. And then the 4th section is program specific. So you would want to find our program. You can search for Berkeley. Remember, there's 2 Berkeley programs. So there's the School of Public Health and there's the MNSD. So make sure that you apply to the program of interest. I will say, I'm not sure if DICAS will let you apply to both. They probably will, but UC Berkeley does not allow you to apply to more than 1 graduate program at a time per year. So they will cross-reference the applications to make sure that students did not apply to both programs. So you need to select one of them. The School of Public Health has a master's in public health that goes with their dietetic internship. Okay, so you would find our program page, and then there's 4 components to it. Well, there's 5. There's a home page, there's questions, there's documents, there's recommendations, and prerequisites. This is standardized across DICAS. When you go to our home page, there's just information on here. I'm circling what's in red because sometimes red doesn't always stand out. But if you click on this Learn More here, there is a manual that goes through the application and all the application components and what we're looking for. So hopefully your answers or your questions can be answered by going to that link. There's 2 steps to applying. 1, DICAS. And then the second is, as soon as you submit your DICAS application, you will receive a letter from our graduate division saying that you need to register on our graduate division webpage and pay the supplemental application fee. So no additional documents need to be uploaded to the UC Berkeley graduate application, but you do need to register and pay the fee. And your application will not be complete until you've paid the supplemental graduate application fee. So we have lowered that application fee to account for this DICAS application fee. So the fee is the same as it was for last year and for anybody applying to UC Berkeley graduate programs. And so we've been able to lower our supplemental fee to $110 for US citizens and permanent residents and $130 for all others. There is a fee waiver if you are eligible for that. So again, you have to apply to DICAS. As soon as you hit submit, then you'll receive a letter, which is a very yeah, not very thorough letter, just a little bit of information saying that you need to register for the UC Berkeley account. They're going to tell you that you need to enter your username, which is your email address, and they're going to give you a PIN. And then you're going to enter your PIN, and then you'll be required to create a personal password. You'll activate it and then pay the fee. And this email should come within 24 hours of hitting submit on the DICAS application. We tested it out this week and it is working. So, this is our first time through, but this process seems to be working. If you don't get this email within 24 hours, definitely reach out. Okay, so looking at the different sections, so under the questions, these are just some basic questions that come from the UC Berkeley application. So basically your DICAS application will be transferred over to UC Berkeley, and it will provide information to fill out the UC Berkeley application. And so these questions really just we'll go into that UC Berkeley application, and a lot of them are optional questions that you do not have to answer, but they're part of the traditional UC Berkeley application. And so that is why they're on there. But there are some required questions as well. We also ask you in this section to list your advanced GPA and your cumulative undergraduate GPA. So the questions look like this. The asterisk means it's required. And so we ask you to write in your advanced GPA. And we also ask under the documents for you to upload a GPA calculator, your advanced GPA calculator. This is in that document that provides application instructions. So on our homepage, remember in red, it says click here to learn more. So when you click there to learn more, you'll read about the advanced GPA, and then you'll find our advanced GPA calculator. So advanced GPA basically means any courses after your second year. So if you took 2 more years to graduate, it would be your last 2 years. If you took 3 years to graduate, after your first 2 years, it would be all 3 of those years. So all of the courses after your second year. And so you need to list them on this table, list your grade and how many units, and it will auto populate your advanced GPA, and you'll just put that in this box. Your cumulative undergraduate GPA is shown on your transcript, and it's also shown in DICAS when you're putting in all of your courses, because you're supposed to put in all of the courses that you've taken. It should and will calculate your cumulative undergraduate GPA. So you can list that one, and it should be the same as your transcript, but we will be verifying all of it anyway. But I think you can use what is calculated here from DICAS, because this again is your cumulative undergraduate GPA. And it should again look the same as what's on your transcript. And then prerequisite courses, there's a box here. So we understand that not all of the prerequisite courses may be done. So this is an opportunity for you to explain the courses that are in progress or that you'll be taking in the spring or even in the summer. We require that all the prerequisites are done before you start the program. So just let us know what your plan is, and that will be great. The documents section is hopefully pretty self-explanatory. This is where you upload documents, your resume, statement of purpose, personal history statement, advanced GPA table. These are all required. Also required is your unofficial transcripts. And then optional are writing samples. If you want to apply for a program award, graduate student instructor, if you want to apply for a graduate student instructor appointment that will be given at time of admissions, you have to write a statement for that. International transcripts is optional. It's required if you're an international student, but it's optional because not everybody will obviously be uploading that. And evidence of English language proficiency. It is important that you upload it, but it also has to be electronically submitted to UC Berkeley, and how to do that is in those directions as well. So if you click on these documents, one section, well, it's a big long list of documents, and it says required documents. Personal statement is required, program specific. So 2 categories for program specific materials. One is a personal history statement, and then the other one you would upload the advanced GPA table, or you can upload the advanced GPA table and then the personal history statement. It doesn't really matter, but it's in here twice because we have these two program specific materials, and then your unofficial transcripts. DICAS requires official transcripts, and so you will also need to be uploading your you don't upload it. You need to order your official transcripts from all universities attended. And there's no reason to not do that now, because likely you won't be completing any courses before our deadline of December 15th, unless you're taking like a class at extension or something that is self-paced, perhaps then you would wait on that one, but otherwise likely all of your grades are complete given our date of late September. So you might want to go ahead and order your official transcripts, but we also require your unofficial transcripts. And then optional documents, as I mentioned, there's a lot of others here for you to upload these other documents that are optional. I'm not going to go into the statements because you can click on that link that says that provides additional information about our application, and that information is in there. And so you can read about our personal statements. But I already kind of mentioned, we do want to know why you want to be a dietitian, why you want to come to UC Berkeley. Your statement of purpose is about really your motivation of studying at UC Berkeley and in your specialization of nutrition and dietetics. So we want to know about that interest of yours. I do also highly encourage, again, this will be posted. There is a link here offered from UC Berkeley about writing statements of purpose and what to do and what not to do. And I thought it was just some really helpful tips and advice. So I would encourage you to take a look at that link and webpage to learn more about writing those statements. And then the last tab is prerequisites. So you will have already in DICAS entered in all of your courses. And then here you're going to match them to our prerequisites. So you'll just click assign a course and you'll assign your course. And if you haven't taken the course, you're going to click I am not matching any courses to this prerequisite. So for any of those that you are not matching, we would want to see in that box I showed you before an explanation as to why you're not matching. It could be because it's in progress, although you might be able to match that. I'm not exactly sure, but you might be able to match or input your in progress courses, but it might be because you're going to take it in spring or you're going to take it in summer or something like that. So just let us know what your plan is if you are not matching a course to that prerequisite. Getting to the end here, this is just a recommendation from DICAS. How long does the application take? They suggest you start 3 months prior to the deadline, which would be now. Open your account at least 10 to 12 weeks before send off for your official transcripts. They are sent directly to DICAS, and then DICAS sends those to universities. Start to begin to enter your coursework, and then at least 6 to 8 weeks before the deadline, complete and submit your application. I'm not exactly sure why you have to do it that early, but that is their recommendation. We will receive your application without the official transcripts and without the letters of recommendation. Of course, we do want those very soon after. So we want you to, request those early on and get the ball moving, but you can hit submit and we will receive it if those things haven't been officially connected to your application yet. I think they recommend really going early because some universities require the official transcripts before they'll look at your application. We will look at your unofficial transcripts. And getting those official transcripts does take time. I remember years past, it would take a long time to kind of get them in and then connect them to the student's application. So I think, the earlier the better, of course, and then just getting started on your personal statements and revising those. I will say, so once you hit submit on DICAS, you should receive an email from UC Berkeley. And again, you have to pay the supplemental fee. That portal closes a few days after December 15th. So as soon as you hit submit, I would give yourself a little bit of time to get that email and then make that payment. So, it's not open for an extended period of time. And if you don't submit that fee, your application will not be considered complete and will not be considered. So, give yourself some time. It's always great to apply before the deadline. And in terms of the timeline, so again, the application deadline is December 15th. We will conduct interviews. Not all applications receive an interview, but a selected number of applicants will be interviewed in late January, early February. All supervised practice programs are on the notification date of March 1st. So you should be hearing from all supervised practice programs by March 1st as to whether you were accepted for admission. And then students have until March 15th to decide. So that is a very quick turnaround. That gives you 2 weeks to decide if you are interested in attending those programs. And programs don't have to keep your spot and reserve your spot for you after March 15th. So these are dates that should be across the board for supervised practice programs. They are in place from our accrediting agency and the academy and whatnot. So these are the dates that you should be hearing from everybody. Orientation starts in August. Classes start the same week as orientation. So we get started August 24th. And just keep in mind that we do have a program specific calendar. So, in terms of our semesters and our holidays and things like that. So it's on our webpage. We, can have a unique academic calendar because we are a professional training program and we're trying to accomplish a lot with our education. So I do want to let you know that we welcome you to reach out to speak to an alumni or to speak to me or to come visit campus or any of our faculty members. Because this is such a quick turnaround, you really should, think seriously before these dates about what programs you might be accepting an offer from and get that information, early on because you're not going to have a lot of time to make your decisions, unfortunately. Our email is dietetics@berkeley.edu. That actually comes to me, so I will receive those. We're on social media now. We have an Instagram account at UC Berkeley Nutrition, so follow us there. And then our webpage, nutrition.berkeley.edu.